A big hello and a warm welcome to all our viewers today, both new and old. My name is Miraculin Lydia and I am an occupational therapist working here at PlayStreet. PlayStreet is an organization that provides educational services to children with special needs to become independent and live up to their potential. We also offer parent empowerment programs, integrated schooling program, and a variety of clinical services. In recognition of Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, we would like to center our discussions around augmentative and alternative communication. It's also called as AAC. So our goal throughout the month is to emphasize the significance of AAC, address the challenges associated with it, and promote greater awareness of this essential aspect of autism advocacy. So let's meet our speaker for today. Today we have Mr. Abhishek Koshy Philip, who is also a senior speech therapist here at PlayStreet. So he has more than 8 years of experience of working with children. He has completed his bachelor's and master's from Sri Ramachandra University, Chennai. Prior to joining PlayStreet, he worked at Shining Stars Academy in Jakarta, Indonesia for 5 years. He believes that every child is unique and if created a loving environment around them, we can bring out their capabilities and strengths, which will help them achieve success. So we are still on the first segment, talking about AAC conundrum, what and why. So in the second talk, we will go deep into how AAC empowers communication among individuals with speech and language difficulties. So our esteemed speaker, Mr. Abhishek, will share his insights on various ways AAC can be used in different settings to enable better communication among individuals. So I hand over to Mr. Abhishek.
Thank you, Miraculin, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. In the last segment, we looked at some practical difficulties or concerns and myths that are around with AAC. So today, we are going to look at ways we can empower children to use AAC for their speech and language difficulties. I want to talk about starting with, let's say, like this child has started to come for therapy and AAC is being introduced to the child for the first time. And of course, when the AAC is given or so we suggested to the parents, most of the time the parents think that this is something too big or it's too difficult for them to understand and learn and do it. But something that I want to share here is that with proper support provided by the speech therapist and the team, this process can look much more easier to be achieved. And for that, we need to have a constant support from the team, and with consistent work, it is possible. And today, like I said, we are going to look at scenarios. Particularly, I want to talk about at home, how we can support AAC system to be used at home. So before even going there, I want to talk about one important factor here, which is communicative functions. What are we really communicating for? And for that, I have to say, most of the time, like when AAC is being introduced, the first thing that comes in their mind is that, you request things. And most of the time it stays the same. They use it only for requesting things. But I have to tell you something that communicative function is beyond requesting. We can use AAC system for various purposes, similar to speech. And these are some of the functions, communicative acts, which we can actually really use to make it more holistical and complete. And first of all, we have requesting. So as we all know, we use words to request particular object or toys, fruits, food items, or it doesn't matter what the child wants. The child uses pictures to request things. Then comes protesting. If the child doesn't like something, the child can protest by saying no, music please, or something the child does not want, the child can say no. That is considered as protesting. And after that, we have commenting skills. When the child sees something, the child can talk about it using that AAC device for communication. For example, like the child can say, look, I see something there. Or for example, the child goes to a zoo and the child can say, look, I see an elephant. or any other animal that fascinates the child, which I can comment about it, so that the parents can also brought to attention by that. So then comes the next part. We have direction. So direction means the child can use this to give a particular direction, like, put that inside, or don't eat, to do more swing. These are some of the examples for giving directions. So the next four things we have here is questions. Of course, everyone want the child to ask questions, not just give comments or give requests. The questions is the next one. So the child can ask the particular object or the toys, or maybe ask for a person the child wants to see. So that is considered as questions. So similarly, we can help the child to learn to give opinions, share the news, and even start a conversation. So again, I'm trying to say is that let's not try to limit the use of AAC only for requesting. So let's help the child to use and help the child to communicate, to learn more things using these particular components. So where all we can use AAC, most of the time people start with the therapy center, and some parents, they work at home. And what I'm trying to say is that it's beyond that. We can use AAC system typically like how we use our communication skills. We don't use this system only at the therapy center or at a particular activities. We use it across different scenarios. We can use it at home, at school, even the therapy centers, gym, restaurants, picnic, cinema, and many more. This is just a couple of places that I thought about. So that's why I put it here. So which is beyond that. So we can help the child to learn and experience the communication aspects irrespective of the place. So I would also encourage the parents to accept this and support the child to use this and in different places. So we are come to the point of how we can incorporate AAC at home. After the therapy sessions, I always recommend the parents to use AAC system at home. So most of the time, the parents don't know how to incorporate at home. And I have some points and ideas for parents to try at home. And I hope that this would be really helpful. And we can use AAC system for almost all the activities that the child does at home, starting with the shower time, playtime, dinner or lunch, book reading activities, watching TVs or movies. So you can name it. You can think about all other activities, what we can incorporate AAC so the child can use it. What I'm trying to say is that let's not restrict the use of AAC only to few particular activities. To make it communication more effective and more easy, I would also suggest that make the AAC system available across different places within the home itself. And most of the time, parents, they have either a speech generating device or let's say a high-tech device. And they always ask me, how can we carry around this device everywhere at home? It is not feasible. So to make it much more easier for the family and also for the child, let's try to do something different. Let's have different systems dedicated, or let's say communication boards dedicated to each places. And that would be a better approach than carrying the AAC device across throughout the home every time, because if we do that, either we will run out of the charge and maybe the device can break down, wear and tear can happen. So those are some things that can happen. And it's, like I said before, it is not really feasible. So as a tip, I would suggest that even though home is a place which is really busy, let's try to help the child to learn to use AAC with the help of modeling. So you might ask me, what is modeling? So when you think about modeling is something like when you want to learn how to do certain aspect. Like we all love to cook. Some people love to cook, or some people love to learn certain new skills. Of course, when we want to learn that, we always go to YouTube and try to see how to do this thing. Or let's say how to prepare lasagna, for example. And this person in that video shows what are the ingredients we need and what are the process involved in that, and also the steps that we need to do to make the lasagna. So that's the same thing we also trying to do for AAC. So let's try to show the child how to use it by doing it for the child. So this is called modeling. And um, studies say that at least we need to model 80% of the daily day-to-day activities. Initially, it may not be really easy for the parents to do that, but that is completely fine. But as you get more comfortable in using AAC, try to add more activities and do at least 80% of the do modeling for 80% of the daily day-to-day chores. And in order for the child to learn particular vocabulary, so like any other child, how the child learns certain words, vocabulary, this activity needs to be repeated for a better exposure, and eventually the child will learn it. One activity is not really enough for the child to learn particular vocabulary. So I would suggest that again, like through modeling it in the same activity over and over. Sometimes you can change the activity, but using the same vocabulary, we can incorporating it in different activities. It can help the child to learn what does it really mean, and also the child can learn how to do it. Repeated exposure is really important when you do this at home. And at home, parents also need to understand that when it comes to speech generating device, especially, there are some other accessories that come along with. For example, there are cases, straps, and also charger for the iPad, or let's say any other dedicated device. It comes with certain accessories so that you can carry it around, or you can use it better, or they can be stands to keep it better, so that to make it communication more easier, these appropriate accessories will be really helpful. And parents especially should be learning about these accessories, and that would be really helpful. This is something I quite often seen in parents, especially in AAC devices. I've seen that children using AAC device for other purpose, especially to watch YouTube or play games. So this is very important for us to realize that let's use AAC device, or let's say an iPad, dedicated for communication purpose alone, not for anything else. So the child will also begin to understand that this is not a plaything or a play device, so which can demean the value of the AAC system. So this is one tip I would suggest for all the parents and all other professionals to keep in mind when you start your AAC. So these are some examples that you can look at. On the bottom, you can see there's a stand for the child can see it better, and also you can see the straps on the left side, and also these are sturdy accessories so that you can make sure that the devices becomes more safe and easy to handle it. Because children, that children like to carry it around. Sometimes they throw it out of the frustration. So we don't want that to happen. This is some common question that parents raise when they are suggested to use AAC. What if they throw it, and what happens? They are worried about the safety of the product. So these are some accessories, again, like, just keep in your mind, so that we can make sure the device is safe and can be used for a long time. So these are some examples that I want to show you here. So for example, on the left side, you can see a girl is trying to say something. You can see that communication board that is stuck on the fridge. The child wants to access something. The child saying, I want something that the child really like. So child is using that. This is one communication board which is dedicated to particular area. So, and you can see some of the words on the other side that we can really use. These are just examples, and this is not a default one, but depending on the child's need and level, we can always customize it. But I would always suggest that to keep it to a place where the child can access it easily and make it sturdy. Don't put it on a paper. It would be better if we can laminate it and stick it on the fridge or any other place that's in the kitchen. That would be a great option. And this would really help the child to learn the vocabularies related to this particular page. For example, the child can learn the words like cut, cook, and name it. Your child can learn whatever the word the child wants to learn. So eventually, when we do this, the child's communication becomes much more easy. That's what we want, right? We want to improve the child's communication skills. The child becomes more happy to communicate. The child shouldn't be pushed to communicate. The child should be engaged and happy to communicate to others. So this is something I would suggest all the parents or the professionals to keep in mind. So the next one is we have a dedicated system for bathroom. Most of the time, I have a parent who had asked me, I want to use AHS system, but I can't take the iPad inside the bathroom. So what can I do? So I suggested the mother to use something very similar what we saw before, where they can laminate the words that are related to particular area, especially which is the bathroom. So we can use the words like hot, cold, soap, tub, play, fun, inside. So you can use these words put it on a sheet, laminate it so that it becomes more sturdy, so that also it won't get wet. And the child can ask us, like, child requests for certain things. For example, I want to play, or I want to wash my face, or I want soap, I want to play more, and I want hot water, I want cold. Or when if you say, let's say if we give hot water and the child is not liking it, so the child can say, I don't like it. So according to that, the mother maybe can make it, lighten it, or make it more appropriate for the child to use. So these are some words you can suggest. You can add words like shampoo, water, soap, nouns like that, and also verbs, adjectives. All the words can be put in that one sheet. So again, we are trying to make the communication more easy, and so the child is able to communicate back to us. So through this kind of methods, if you see, communication becomes more back and it becomes more reciprocal, and it is fun to see that if we can adopt this idea. So I'm going to show you another example here. So similarly, we can use AAC system. These are all a couple of examples that I want to show. We can use it for play activities. This is especially for preschoolers or children who are really young, and where they can use particular sheet for play activities. For example, they can use the AAC system or a communication board for play activities like cause and effect play. In that way, the child can also request that I want the yellow sword, I want the blue sword, I want the green one, I want I want to put this inside, I want to put it outside. So a lot of ideas we can do with this. So, and also the child parent or the communication partner can also play along with that and use it by modeling it them. So on the other side, we can see a written play activity example that I've put it here, where we can ask the words like if the child is happy, the child likes to play that, or the child enjoying it, the child wants to feed the baby, or the child wants to wash the baby. All the things are possible using this activity or this communication board. So this is another example I want to give you, but this is not the only thing I wanted to say. We can do beyond this. We can use it for other play activities like Jenga, or let's say board games, or any other gross motor play activities. We can use the AAC system for any kind of play activities. That's the fun, and that's the importance of using AAC. So now I have some ideas here for you to try at home. What other activities we can try? Let's say maybe we can try make a juice along with the child. So the mother or the father can join with the child to make a juice. So this is one activity I suggested with one of my kids who is coming for therapy. So I told them that this is something that the child likes. So to do, you can also try to do this at home also. So you can use the words like go, select the fruits the child wants to make the juice of, and pour, flavor, like sweet, sour, if the child wants to make it more sweet, or if it's too sour. Let's say like we have a lot of ideas, so we can try using these words, we can help the child to learn. Similarly, we can use the word like use the idea of cooking food together. And some of the vocabularies that I would suggest would be plates, cut, stir, fry, add, the ingredients associated with that, the flavor, if the food is hot, cold, etc. So again, there are a lot of words we can try, but for example, I just thought of adding these words. Now, like I said before, we can also use words like my turn, your, his, her, win, lose, draw, fun, enjoy. These are some words that are associated with playing games. And similarly, we can do for chores like sweep, mop, tidy, clean, dirty, dusty, soap. So there are a lot of words. And these are just a couple of ideas that I wanted to share it here, but this is just few. There are a lot of activities that you can try, and it is fun to do. Let's try to use AAC for other activities also. So at this moment, I want to highlight one important part. Who is a communication partner? A communication partner is a person who is basically trying to communicate with a child using an AAC. So that person can be a teacher, it can be a parent, it can be the therapist, friends, shopkeeper, name it. It can be anyone, or it can be family members. But most of the time, what I see is that it limits with the therapist and the parents, and it doesn't go beyond that. So I would suggest the parent to help encourage the child to use AAC system with other people also, so that it can create awareness about using AAC, and also let the child enjoy communicating with others, people, not just people that the child see at home or the therapist. So let's give that exposure, and talking to many people or different kinds of people, it's always fun, right? So let's try to help the child to do that. So these are 7 important skills that every communication partner can learn. So as we all know, skills are something that can be learned. Skills is something which is not innate. Skills are something that can be learned. And with practice and exposure, it is possible. And the first and important skill, or let's say important tip that I want everyone, all the communication partner to keep in mind is that let's believe that the child is competent to use AAC. This is the main important point that I want to highlight here. Others are also important, but this is the most important one that I think and I want to highlight here. So this is called presuming competence. Let's believe that the child has the competence and the capacity to learn, and the child is in the process to learn. Never look down at the child, oh, he can't do it, oh, let's try something else. Let's not do that. Let's believe that the child can do. When we had an opportunity to interview many parents whose children use AAC, one thing that stood out from all the parents is that they had one thing common, which is they believe that the child can do it. And it started very small, but it came a long way, and they learned that the child can do more. So let's continue to do that. Let's keep in mind that a child has the capacity to learn how to do the AC. So the next point is that when you are suggested to use AC for the first time, like I said before, it can be very difficult, but it's okay. Take your time to learn it, and with trial and with exposure, you will learn how to modify the vocabulary. You will know how to change the system, how to operate it. It'll become more easy. So take your time, and it's okay to feel frustrated or having the difficulty, feeling stressed at the beginning phase. With time, you can learn it with the proper support and appropriate support from the team, especially from the speech therapist. The third point I want to highlight here is that let's support multimodal communication. Multimodal communication in the sense that let the child use the ACE system. Along with that, let's say the child using a speech generating device, and also let the child uses the other body gestures, like nonverbal gestures, like body pointing at things, facial expression. These are all the multimodal ways the child can communicate. It doesn't have always to be one communication board or a speech generating device. And studies have shown that when the children they use multimodal communication, their communication breakdown has reduced tremendously. And so we can imagine that when the communication breakdown reduces, the child become more happy to communicate, and communication becomes more easy for the child, which is what we really want, right? So let's support the child and accept that any form of multimodal communication is acceptable. And the fourth point is that wait, we need to provide that pause. After we ask a question, let's wait for the child to respond back. Most of the time I've seen that the parents ask a question and take the child's hand and make the child point at the word without giving the child to respond to it. Especially children with autism, they need time to process things. One study says that we need to provide at least 45 seconds for the child to respond back. At least 45 seconds. So let's keep that in mind and let's respect the child, and let's give the turn for the child to use it. What happens is that if we don't give the turn, the child does not know when is the child's turn. So after we ask a question or when you say something, let's wait for the child to respond back. The next one is modeling. Like I said before, like whenever we want to say something, try to show that on the child's iPad or communication board so that the child can also learn how to use it. And you don't have to model entire sentence. You initially can start with pointing at the core word or the particular word that you want to highlight with. So you can do that. So let's say the sentence or the phrase like I want to go. So you can try I want to go by clicking at I want go. Also, you can just say I want to go. Just one word. That is also fine. But modeling is really important, and it needs to be practiced consistent. Most of the time, the parents or the professional, they think is that they talk to the child without modeling, and they expect the child to type it back. So, which is not a right way to do. So let's try to type it or show the child on the AHS system so the child can talk back. Do the same with you also. All right. And the next point is do not force. This is another important point that I want to highlight here. So many times I have seen that children were asked or forced to point at pictures, even though the child has used another way to show it, like the child pointed at something the child wants. But the parents or the therapist, they push the child to use it on the AAC system. They would ask the child to pick up the speech generating device and give it to the child, asking the child to point at it. But the child already pointed at what the child really wants. So let's not force, but encourage what the child is trying to say. Even I've seen that sometimes there are days where the child does not want to use an AAC system, and that is okay. And let's respect that. And because of some reason which we may not know, the child wouldn't be interested to communicate using an AAC on that day. But so let's respect that and encourage the child's communication attempts, which are most important thing we need to keep in mind. So encourage, do not force the child. The last and most important point here is that let's try to use AAC system consistently. Another example that I want to show you is that I want to explain you is that I have seen children getting frustrated because the AAC system runs out of charge, and the child wants to communicate back to us, but the iPad or the speech generating device is got switched off, and the child can't be able to use it. Another one is that sometimes the parents or the communication partner model to the child on the device. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they use it to bring it to the session. Some days they don't bring it. So they give explanations that saying that, oh, we forgot to bring it. So a consistent use of the AAC system is important for the child to learn. I think that is similar for all other things, right? If you want to learn something, we need to use that consistently so that we can excel in that. So consistent use of AAC system is very important, because when there is no routine, it's difficult for any child to learn. So now I have something, a tip that I want to share for all the parents. So the first one, like you had seen before, let's make sure that we have AAC system available all the time. It can be like you can use it in the kitchen. You can have a system for the particular place, let's say kitchen, bathroom, and we can use it in the play area. And now we can even look at school also. We can have a particular system within the classroom so the child can communicate to us, the child. In that way, we can bring more inclusivity. So make sure that the AAC is available across all the situations or scenarios. The next one is having a balanced AAC system is important. Most of the time, I have seen children having a system only with fruits and vegetables, or only maybe things the child like to eat. But we don't have any other words like core words like go, give, mind. Those are the core words. So the AAC system need to be balanced. We have good amount of the core words, the fringe words, and also other vocabularies, and also alphabets. So it becomes more meaningful. So let's keep that in mind when we make a AAC system. So the third point is that declarative communication. So most of the time, I've seen that parents want to ask a question: what do you want to eat? What do you feel? And it's mostly questions. Let's try to change that. Let's change from more imperative communication to declarative communication. That is very important. Try to tell the child, oh, I think this is what's going to happen, for example. Or we can say, I think he's going to win. You can comment about things, you can predict things. It doesn't have always to be questions. Try to have the communication, the communication attempt that you're trying to give more of declarative type. Let's say 80% of the time need to be more of declarative communication, and 20% is questions. In that way, the child won't feel more threatened sometimes, because when you ask more questions to the child would feel discouraged to communicate, and we may think, oh, I think the child does not want to communicate, but that's not the fact. So let's use more declarative type of communication when we try to interact with the child. The next point is that being flexible. So according to the child's need and attempts, let's try to be flexible, and that is essential. And last and most important point that I want to highlight here is that teamwork is essential. the consistent support from the team will really guide the parents to reach where they want to be. And also, the parents need to believe in the speech therapist and the other team members. It includes the occupational therapists, physiotherapists, the doctors, and other peoples. So a good teamwork is essential, and parents need to believe that. And when that connection is there, we can make wonders. So it, and also when that connection is there, things will become more consistent. So that's something we need to keep in mind. So these are the 5 points that or tips that I want to share with all the parents. So looking at the final thoughts. Learning AAC system is a journey. It's a rewarding journey indeed. And initially it may look a bit of a struggle, but with the proper support, you can reach where you want to be. And most important part is that you need to be patient. Okay, so this is something about how we can empower the child to use AAC system at home and some scenarios that I've explained. And please let me know if you have any doubts in the comments, and we can try to respond back.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abhishek, for your valuable time and taking us the opportunity to give detailed insights about how AAC is not just to one situation and giving us tips on how it can be used over various situations to enable independent communication for individuals with speech and language difficulties. I hope the audience, the parents and professionals who all have joined have got a clear understanding, and I hope they would encourage all the others to use AAC, which will make them independent in their communication. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please do join us for the subsequent videos, which will come out as we go in this month. Have a great day. Bye bye.